If you are serious about advancing in life, you'll do this, Lilith. Silas, my boss said with the same predatory look he always gave me. Like I was his last meal. I rolled my eyes and scowled. If I had a dime for every time I'd heard that manipulative line, I wouldn't need to be here enduring his nonsense. It was just another way for him to get what he wanted. Another task no one else would touch. For 3 long years, Silas had been trying to lure me into his orbit, his saggy, aging body a stark contrast to the delusion of power he thought he wielded. No other female in the office was treated this way. Just me. But I wasn't, nor would I ever be, his side chick. He must have missed that memo. Honestly, it's a miracle I haven't killed him yet. Take your interview and shove it up your ass where it belongs. That's the only action you're getting from me. I snapped, throwing the file at him with enough force to make my point clear. I couldn't care less about football. It was barbaric, and once college was over, no one gave a damn about it. The professional league didn't even allow shifters. Too much potential for chaos. Imagine grannies in the stands, puking up their overpriced hot dogs as heads went flying across the field. Yeah, no thanks. Lilith, get your sweet little tail over to the frat house and interview those players. Silas ordered, raising a brow like he was giving me the privilege of a lifetime. They're future alphas, every she-wolf's wet dream. The papers would sell out overnight. Can't believe we haven't covered them yet. I scoffed. Everyone knew the infamous Ashford brothers didn't do interviews. You kiss your mate with that mouth? I shot back, kicking his foot off his desk. Douchebag. Silas smirked, knowing he had me cornered. I needed his recommendation, and he damn well knew it. Good she-wolves were expected to be obedient, to finish school and settle into domestic bliss if they hadn't found their mate. Not me. I wanted a career. My own money. My independence. The Full Moon Times, the largest shifter newspaper, was losing its junior editor to retirement next year. That position had my name on it. I could almost taste it. All I needed was a foot in the door. An internship, anything to prove myself. I had the talent, the tenacity, and the instincts no one else could match. I always got the story, but football players? Really? It was the journalistic equivalent of watching paint dry. Here's your headline. Aspiring reporter dies of boredom. Public mistakes it for performance art. Look, sugar, Silas said, leaning back with that greasy grin I despised. You do this for me, and I'll let you write your own damn recommendation letter. Say whatever the hell you want, and I'll sign it. His hand was outstretched, sweaty and reeking of stale pizza and cigarettes. I hated this office. The futon in the corner confirmed what everyone suspected. His mate had thrown him out, likely because he was screwing the nanny. Disgusting. I grabbed a tissue, wrapped it around my hand and shook his. As I pulled away, he yanked me into his lap, my hand pressed against his chest as I tried to steady myself. I've got a list of questions I want answered, he said, his breath hot and foul. Don't let me down, Lilith. Brush your damn teeth. I hissed, scrambling to my feet. As I stood, my lap brushed against his crotch, and the evidence of his excitement made my stomach churn. The urge to stomp him into oblivion surged through me, but the thought of touching him again, even with my shoe. Knock, knock. Silas, I have those advertisements for your approval, Sonia, his secretary announced, walking in and catching me mid-escape from his lap. Perfect. Just perfect. This isn't what it looks like, I snapped, grabbing the file from his desk. If he was on fire, I wouldn't waste the spit to put him out, and for the love of the goddess, get an air freshener in here. Silas's obnoxious laughter followed me into the hallway. Love you too, Lilith. I took a deep breath, desperate for the stench of him to dissipate. But it clung to me like a curse. The first thing I did when I got home was rip off my dress and toss it straight into the trash. It wasn't cheap, and I liked it a lot, but it was irreparably contaminated. Celis level. Contaminated. Tien. Fowder. That night, when the campus nightlife was in full swing, I prepared myself for the mission ahead. I pulled half of my hair up, letting loose blonde curls cascade down my back. It was a warm night, and I took full advantage, slipping into a dress that my conservative mother would describe as a Jezebel's attempt at modesty. High heels completed the look. My mother still clung to the outdated belief that good she-wolves waited patiently for their mate. According to her, only the virtuous were blessed with one. Whatever. Maybe that's why my first sexual experience was a threesome equal parts curiosity and rebellion. Long story short, neither gender had won me over completely. 4 years after my first shift, and still no mate. Most shifters found theirs around 17. Maybe I was forgotten. Maybe I was destined to be alone. And maybe I didn't care. I didn't need a mate to enjoy myself. Or my life. I grabbed the file from my bag and glanced at the names. Only one photo. They were brothers. How different could they be? Shoving the file back into my bag, I cut across campus, feeling nostalgic. 1 more week of classes, then finals. 3 years of calling this place home, and soon it would all be over. The Ashford brothers lived in a lavish green house that screamed wealth. Their parents probably hired an entire staff to maintain it. Must be nice. Inside, the air was charged with music and the buzz of conversation. I made my way to the keg, snagging a beer without paying. The guys guarding it didn't even ask, they were too busy staring at my cleavage. Oh, I still had it. Like some clueless freshman ever stood a chance with this fine piece of tail. Have you seen Caden around? I asked, watching the guy's smug grin dissolve in an instant. I didn't bother with a last name. Everyone knew Caden. Whether they loved him, hated him, or wished they were him. The guy was infamous. I'd heard plenty of rumors about the Ashford brothers, but I'd somehow managed to avoid crossing paths with them until now. Honestly, it was a small miracle. Their reputation as arrogant, self-absorbed jerks preceded them. And I couldn't stand jocks. The guy lounging on the couch stood, leaning in way too close as his hands gripped my hips. I am right here. You don't need anyone else, he said, tilting his head as if he was irresistible. Desperation isn't flattering. I shot back, my tone icy as I gave him a look that could peel paint. Before he could blink, I twisted his hand up behind his back. A move my cop-ex had drilled into me during our relationship. He is probably out back. He squeaked, wincing as I let him go. The pleasure was all yours, I quipped, downing the rest of my beer and shoving the empty cup at him. The grass was still damp from last night's rain, and my heels sank into the soft earth with every step. Fantastic. This right here was why I didn't bother with frat parties. Just a bunch of jersey-chasing girls and overinflated egos. Asterisk reporter falls into a sinkhole. Party continues unbothered. Asterisk, I scanned the crowd and spotted a guy who screamed pompous asshole. He had the vibe down perfectly. The smug smile, the crowd of sycophants, and a horde of girls who looked ready to throw themselves at him. If ego fluffing was a sport, they'd all be gold medalists. Future alpha indeed. When he finally turned toward me, I knew I'd found Caden. His broad shoulders and muscular build fit the image, but I wondered how he'd fare in a real fight. Probably more concerned about breaking a nail than breaking a sweat. Patience wasn't my strong suit, so I waited only a minute before cutting through the crowd and walking straight up to him. Confidence was my armor. It always threw men off, and occasionally women too. Hey, Caden, I said casually, as though we were old friends. Before he could respond, one of his lackeys stepped between us. His arm outstretched like a barrier. "Whoa. You can't just walk up to Caden and talk to him," the guy said. Our eyes locked. And that's when it hit me. The scent, smoky, like a roaring campfire with undertones of charred wood. It was intoxicating, primal. My wolf surged forward, howling for recognition. My body reacted instantly, betraying me in the worst way. Mate. Mate, asterisk my wolf. Rose was practically howling. It's finally happening. We're going to be marked, asterisk. I couldn't break his gaze. I wouldn't, mate or not. He wouldn't know the effect he had on me. But he wasn't reacting. Why wasn't he reacting? Why are you staring at him like that? Trying to get child support or something? You look like he owes you money. The lackey sneered, finally tearing my eyes away. I smirked at him. Do I thuji look pregnant, asshole? Do you wanna be? Caden's voice cut through the tension, drawing my focus back to him. The words hit me like a sucker punch. His tone was calm and cool, but there was something else, an edge that made my wolf nearly roll over in submission. Yes, we do. Asterisk Rose practically purred. I swallowed hard, forcing my composure to hold. My career was on the line here. 3 years of hard work at the school paper, and I wasn't about to throw it all away. Not even for a mate who set my entire body ablaze. Unfortunately for you, no, but I do need to speak with you. Privately, I said, keeping my voice steady. It was a bold move, asking a favor while turning him down. A future alpha, no less. Yeah, this would go over great. Before he could respond, another voice sliced through the air. You can speak to me. The commanding tone froze me in place. I turned halfway, my breath hitching. My gaze landed on another male, identical to Caden in every way. Asterisk. Rose was losing her mind. My jaw slackened as I struggled to process what I was seeing. Twins identical, impossibly perfect twins. Their broad shoulders and striking features were almost too much to handle. Allow me to introduce myself. Caleb Ashford, the second twin said, flashing a grin that could have powered the entire campus. I see you've already met my brother. My throat dried as I tried to respond. Yes, I need to speak it to you both alone, I stammered. The words tumbled out awkwardly, and I immediately cringed. I'm pretty sure you had it right the first time, fine mate Tan, Caleb said smoothly, stepping closer. His lips curved into a knowing smile, and I felt the full weight of the word twinmate, asterisk. This isn't happening. This BT cannot be happening to me, not now. My voice echoed off the walls, raw and trembling. That made it the 200th time I'd repeated those words, as if saying them enough could rewrite reality. I'd been up all night, spiraling. After my utterly humiliating slip-up in front of both Ashford brothers. It was crystal clear. My mission was well and truly screwed. Their presence had been suffocating. Like two wolves crowding prey. Panic had clawed its way up my throat until I stormed out, a pitiful show of retreat that left me seething at myself. Reporter dies of sheer mortification. Now, here's a look at the zoo's newest panda. I muttered bitterly, imagining the headlines. 10 seconds of public shame, and the world would move on without a second thought. The sunrise spilled through the window, mocking me with its indifference. I half expected them to follow me, which would have been even worse. Facing them now, impossible. Yet, how long could I keep running from it all? The answer hung heavy in the air. I couldn't. 3 weeks. That's how long until the next full moon. Not nearly enough time. Their wolves would find me. There was no escaping it. I wasn't raised in their pack, but if I wanted to work at the Sooty full moon Timesend and settle here permanently, joining their pack was inevitable. They were the closest to the city. And every wolf reported to the alphas, the Ashford brothers. The thought struck like a jolt of electricity. If my mates were alphas, there was no chance they'd let me live off pack territory. Fire there, Luna. What's the pack's name again? Asterisk my wolf, Rose, nudged into my thoughts. Oh, screw off, Rose. Of course, you'd obsess over this. I snapped aloud at the wall. Thinking about it was dangerous. It gave the thought power, made it real. I wasn't cut out for the Luna role. I couldn't cook. I barely cleaned, and my life revolved around school, casual flings, and work. Domesticity wasn't just foreign to me. It made my skin crawl. All I wanted was to enjoy life. Do my job well and get recognition for my talent, breaking the best stories and being unmatched in bed. But last night, no one else even flickered across my mind. I couldn't conjure desire for anyone else. I was wrecked. By two men I hadn't so much as kissed. This was bad. I needed to find a distraction, a warm body to make some reckless decisions with and fast. I've never approved of your promiscuity. Asterisk Rose huffed indignantly. I'd never stoop that low. Asterisk, oh, shove it. I grumbled inwardly, pulling a face. The irony wasn't lost on me. My wolf, my Sunday other half, Asterisk was a goody two-shoes named Rose. I'd foolishly shared her name after my first shift at 17, and the entire pack hadn't let me hear the end of it. Rose and I clashed all the time. She was traditional. I was anything but, dragging myself out of bed. I showered, though it didn't do much to improve my mood. Rose wasn't about to let up either. Who has 4 hands and can give our body what it needs? Our Makola, 8 asterisks. She sang. I flipped her off in the mirror as I finished my makeup. My hair was still an untamed mess, but coffee took priority. I clipped it up haphazardly and headed to the kitchen. Even the warmth of the coffee couldn't soothe the ache lingering in my body. That ache, burning low and insistent, was a constant reminder of the undeniable pull I felt toward Tuvendefen. Asterisk, 2 mates. 2 freaking mates. A knock at the door jolted me from my spiraling thoughts. Probably Dahlia, I thought. Rolling my eyes, my neighbor's morning cheerfulness was grating. Especially on a day like this. She was harmless enough and useful for conversation or networking, but her timing left much to be desired. Not today, Dahlia, I called, swinging the door open. The words caught in my throat. My jaw slackened as I stared at the 2 figures before me. The living, breathing double vision I'd spent the night trying to forget. The Ashford brothers stood there, looking far too rested and composed. No sleepless nights for them. Meanwhile, I was barely holding it together, a walking corpse by comparison. You look like nothing but delicious trouble, one of them said, his lips curling into a wolfish grin. I glared, my gaze darting between them. Damn it, I couldn't tell them apart. Trouble looks like it's your middle name. Both of you, I shot back, crossing my arms in defiance. My stomach betrayed me with a loud growl as the scent of pancakes and bacon wafted from the bag one of them carried. Were they being thoughtful, or was this just an excuse to barge in? Maybe trouble twendwazond. Our middle name, one of them said, his tone teasing. But that changed when our mate walked away from us like we had the plague. I clenched my fists, bristling at their amusement. They were enjoying this, my inability to distinguish between them, my discomfort. Before I could stop them, they shouldered past me, filling my small space with their presence. One began unpacking the food while the other rifled through my cabinets, as if they owned the place. Don't you have other girls to keep your beds warm? I shouted. my voice sharper than I intended. There wasn't even a real reason for it. Just the fact that I was too wound up, my thoughts spinning out of control. I'd spent the entire night obsessing over them. What was under those clothes? What would it be like to have both of them, to feel both of them at the same time? I'd had my share of threesomes before. Sure, but never with two males. Maybe I'd been missing out. Not anymore, they said in unison, their voices cutting through my train of thought. I almost laughed. The Thyan-famous, Ashford brothers, monogamous. That had to be the biggest joke I'd ever heard. Utter nonsense. And you'll be monogamous too. Asterisk, my wolf interjected, her tone leaving no room for argument. I forbid you from being with anyone else. Asterisk. Her declaration sent a spark of irritation down my spine. I wasn't about to surrender my freedom, my freed lifestyle. Just yet. I still had some damn good years left in these thighs, and I wasn't ready to yield them. Grunting, I yanked open a drawer, rummaging furiously until my fingers closed around a marker. Triumph surged through me, as if I'd just won some grand prize. Reporter discovers writing utensil. Stay tuned for a word from our sponsors, I muttered sarcastically. Armed with the marker, I turned to face the closest brother. I moved into his space, forcing him to stand still. His bemused expression didn't falter, though his hands hovered awkwardly, uncertain where to settle. Which one are you? I demanded, wagging the marker inches from his face. And don't lie to me. That grin, the kind of smug, shit-eating grin that screamed trouble, spread across his face. Confirming my suspicion, they enjoyed this game, didn't they? Confusing people, their scents were maddeningly similar. Both a deep, woodsy musk, though one was sharper, more intense. That one had to be Caden. You'll know them apart. Once we're marked, asterisk, my wolf chimed in smugly. Shut it. You're not helping, asterisk, I snapped at her mentally. Caleb, I declared, watching him closely. He didn't answer, just shoved a piece of food into his mouth, his grin widening. I grabbed his hand, determined to prove my point. The moment our skin touched, the spark of the mate bond hit me, stopping me in my tracks. My breath caught, and I stared at our joined hands as if I'd never seen hands before. The electricity between us was overwhelming, igniting something primal and undeniable inside me. Damn baby, he murmured, his voice low, his gaze locked on our semi-joined fingers. I sucked in a sharp breath, flipped his hand over, and quickly scrawled a giant cowl on his palm. The satisfaction of my small victory was pathetic, but I couldn't help the smirk that tugged at my lips. He stared at the letter, as though I'd written an ancient rune. My turn, Caden declared, his hands finding my hips as he closed the distance between us. His breath skimmed over my neck, and I felt my body weaken under the sheer intensity of his presence. My wolf purred in delight, bombarding me with images of bare skin, tangled limbs, and the sounds of ecstasy I couldn't push away. We need fewer clothes. Now, asterisk, she demanded, her tone brooking no argument. I snapped my eyes open, forcing myself to focus. Caden's face was now mere inches from mine, his gaze smoldering, pulling myself together. I grabbed his hand and hastily wrote a giant CAD on his palm. There, I said briskly, stepping away. Now I can eat. Grabbing a plate, I served myself, doing my best to ignore the burning stares I could feel on my back. Do you prefer Lily or Lilith? Caden asked, his voice casual, but his eyes sharp, watching my every move. I cringed. Nobody called me Lilith unless I was in trouble. It was bait, plain and simple. An invitation for me to ask how they knew my name. I wasn't taking it. I prefer Luna, Caleb interjected, licking his lips. I dropped onto a bar stool at the kitchen island. stabbing at my pancake like it owed me money. Normally, I avoided carbs like the plague, but at this moment, I couldn't care less. Surely, the mental hamster running circles in my brain would burn it off. I prefer to stay an independent, career-oriented woman who stands on her own 2 feet, I snapped, glaring at them both. A woman with accomplishments that 2D don't include being barefoot and knocked up in front of a damn stove. They exchanged a look, a silent conversation passing between them that I couldn't decipher. Fine, Caleb said finally. You want to go back to your life like nothing happened. We can do that. I, Caleb Ashford, future alpha of the Blood Moon Pack, hereby. No, 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 no. Don't do that. I screeched, leaping from my chair to slap my hands over his mouth. My wolf exhaled sharply, and I could practically see her clutching imaginary pearls. Pull. Something like that again, Lilith. And I'll put you in heat, asterisk, she snarled. Then you wouldn't dare. Asterisk, I mentally shot back, though the thought made my stomach twist. Called it, Caden said, with a laugh. Before I could retort, Caleb's tongue darted out, licking my hand. I recoiled, my face burning with humiliation. These assholes knew exactly how to push my buttons. 4 against 2, asterisk, my wolf said cheerfully. Let's find out their wolves' names, asterisk. How did I know the goddess would send us a mate who was feisty as hell? Because she had to know exactly what my brother and I would need, a pushover. That wasn't going to cut it. We needed someone wild, untamed. Someone who could match our energy, and Lilith Emery fit the bill perfectly, hotter than Sin and practically a goddess herself. I'd never met her before, but her reputation. Oh, I knew it. Just like she probably knew ours. When she showed up at our party last night, it took every ounce of self-control not to throw her over my shoulder right then and there. If it weren't for Caden stepping in like the buzzkill he can be sometimes, I would have done exactly that. Even after she stormed off, I was dead set on following her, making sure she understood who was in charge. Who was alpha in this relationship? Fine, you're such an idiot. You can't treat her like that. Times are changing. Think about our little sister. You'd lose it if a guy treated her like some random hookup. Asterisk, my wolf fang growled in my head. Stop channeling Caden. And let me handle this. Asterisk, I shot back. I loved my twin, but damn, he could be lame sometimes. He actually suggested we give Lilith space 9 hours. That was all the space I'd allow. My wolf was pacing inside me, clawing for her. He wanted her now, and honestly so did I. I had a vision graduating, going home with my Luna, and celebrating the way only a true alpha could. Our fathers had doubted when we'd be ready to take over. But now that we'd found her, our trio was complete. There was no room left for uncertainty, but still, doubts lingered. Could the Ashford brothers give up their old ways? Could we swear off all other women? And could she do the same? The moment we'd found our mate, our true, fated Luna, it was like a curtain had fallen over the part of my brain that looked at other females. But the adjustment wasn't going to be easy. I already needed her, all of her. When my parents found each other, they were marked and mated within an hour. Most didn't wait, wolves didn't allow it. Too much time apart, and the wolf would rip you to shreds from the inside. I knew for a fact her wolf had to be pushing her too. She was fighting it, but it wouldn't last. She'll be ours soon. Asterisk, Fang rumbled. Get her to shift, let her wolf know the deal. She'll help us, and maybe even put her in heat. Asterisk, the thought sent a wicked thrill through me. My girl defenseless and craving me. Hell yes. Sometimes though, my wolf was as infuriating as my brother. He hated how many women I'd been with, and had no problem voicing it. But during the act, dead silent hypocrite. At least we were on the same page about our mate, she was ours, and it was going to stay that way. Watching her now, devouring the breakfast we'd brought, I couldn't help but grin. Judging by her barren cabinets, she wasn't much of a cook. How does a woman not cook? Even I could manage the basics, though that was mostly thanks to sneaking into the packhouse kitchen for snacks and getting roped into helping the staff. So, what, you're just going to ignore us unless we try to reject you? I asked, breaking the silence. She set her fork down slowly, turning to face us with a glare that could kill. And damn, if it wasn't the hottest thing I'd ever seen. She was fire incarnate. Most she-wolves would have jumped at the chance for our attention, wanted us to touch them, spoil them. Not Lilith. She wanted nothing more than for us to leave her alone, which only made me want her more. Thank you for breakfast, she said, standing and placing her plate in the sink. That's it? Caden asked, stepping closer and touching her arm. I clenched my fists, irrational jealousy surging through me. It was stupid. He was my twin, and we'd shared plenty of women before. But they'd never mattered. Not like this. Lilith wasn't some passing fling. She was Sewers's wine. Yes, she snapped, pulling her arm away. I have things to do, and they don't include entertaining a couple of jackasses. Jackasses? Did she just call us donkeys? We need a nickname for her. Something that'll drive her crazy, I said to Caden through the mind link. He smirked at her, clearly amused by my suggestion. I have it on good authority that you actually need us, I said, leaning back and folding my arms. So, the way I see it, maybe you should try being a little nicer. Wouldn't kill you to smile. I braced myself, knowing her response would be nothing short of explosive. I knew she-wolves like her despised being told what to do, especially when it came to their bodies. If I dared tell her to smile, she'd probably key my car and leave a sarcastic grin scratched into the paint. Her lips pressed into a thin line as she scowled, practically daring me to push her buttons. She wasn't the only skilled investigator around here, though. My brother and I knew most of the people on this campus inside and out. The real surprise was that we'd never crossed paths with her before. Finding out anything we wanted about anyone wasn't just a skill, it was a sport, actually. Yes. My boss wants an interview with you for the paper, she finally said, thrusting a folder into Caden's hands. I couldn't help but laugh. She made it too easy to rile her up, and I wasn't one to resist temptation. Well, aren't you lucky, beautiful? I simply love talking about myself, I said, stretching my arms overhead just to drive the point home. What can I say? I'm a quarterback. Cockiness comes with the territory. I'm sure that's the truest thing you've ever said. She shot back, arms crossed in defiance. Oh, she thought she was clever, cute. But she needed a little more color in those cheeks. The truest thing I've ever said, I replied, my voice steady, is that I'm going to fuck you until my name is the only one you remember. Caden's grin widened, his eyes fixed on her like a predator waiting for the right moment to strike. That line was pure overkill. I'll admit, especially since she'd just admitted she needed our help. Maybe I was being a bit of an ass. She looked at me, her expression a whirlwind of suppressed fury and words she didn't dare say aloud. I knew I'd cornered her, but this wasn't the kind of power I wanted over her. Not really. Still, it would have to do for now. It was dirty. No question about it. Wrong, even. I could almost hear the goddess lining up her karmic payback, but I had to make my point. We weren't going anywhere. And the more I watched her, the way she stiffened her spine and tried to stay composed, the harder it was to pull away. She was becoming the center of my attention, eclipsing even football. That was a strange new reality we'd have to figure out, especially with only one game left in the season. The championship was behind us. This last game was just a bonus, a friendly match to close things out. Despite the early hour, she was already up, her makeup flawless, her attitude sharper than a blade. Meanwhile, the rest of the she-wolves on campus were probably still passed out from last night's parties. My brother and I prided ourselves on being the hardest workers in any room, first in, last out. It's what leaders do. Whether it was on the field or off, we gave everything we had. But now, she was distracting me, pulling my focus away from the one place I felt most alive. I watched her carefully, noting how she tried to regain control of herself, her posture rigid, her expression carefully blank. She didn't do well when thrown out of her element, but she wasn't about to show weakness. Deciding to cut her some slack, I held out my hand for the folder. Caden passed it to me, and I flipped it open, scanning the contents. "Look at that," she muttered. "The caveman knows how to read. Perfect GPA, actually." I shot back, heading for the living room. Perfect. Thanks to the fact that I sometimes paid people to take notes and keep me ahead of the curve. Not that she needed to know that. Caden followed me, and we sprawled out like we owned the place. "How'd you score a one-bedroom apartment anyway?" Caden asked, noting the layout. One-bedrooms on campus were rare, practically treasures. I leaned back, curious myself. We'd already dug through her file perks of Caden's hacking skills, and we knew her family didn't have money. She was here on a scholarship. "I don't owe you any explanations, donkeys," she snapped before storming off to her room, slamming the door behind her. Caden chuckled, shaking his head. "I'll take that as, she slept with the right person," I muttered under my breath. 7 excruciating hours they've been camped in my apartment, refusing to leave. 3 hours ago, they had the audacity to order Chinese, and the mouth-watering aroma had me thus close to caving. Desperate, I texted one of my on and off hookups, begging him to bring me something edible. When he showed up, though, he saw them lounging at my door and bolted like a scared rabbit. Now he won't even answer my texts. Great. Clearly calling anyone else would be a waste of time, same outcome. So here I am, a prisoner in my own damn apartment. Asterisk reporter starves to death due to sheer stubborn pride. Stay tuned for Ollie the circus cat. Asterisk, I muttered under my breath. It's ironic. Really, I've always been convinced that most real news stories only exist as filler for the mindless garbage people actually tune in to watch. Now, I might become the headline in one of those useless segments. If it weren't for the bathroom attached to my bedroom, I'd be in real trouble. Not that I haven't considered making a dramatic escape. My third-floor window looks increasingly tempting. But let's be honest, I'm not so that reckless yet. Asterisk mates, just say it already. Asterisk my wolf, Rose, chimed in, practically giddy. She was basking in their scent, like it was her personal heaven, pleading with me to open the door. But I couldn't bring myself to do it. I hadn't expected them to stay this long. Surely they'd get bored, or at least need to use the bathroom by now. But no. They'd even resorted to ordering more food since my fridge was a barren wasteland of beer, wine, and bottled water. It's pathetic. Really 21 years old and surviving off cafeteria slop and takeout. Cooking has always felt like an exercise in futility, too much effort for too little payoff. Asterisk, go out there. You're always a stubborn ass. But this is beyond ridiculous. Asterisk Rose huff. Asterisk, this is about principle now. They're not going to wear me down. Asterisk, I shot back. In a small victory, I dug through my backpack and found 2 granola bars. I ripped one open and devoured it like it was a 5-star meal. Asterisk, you better not be having fun in there without us. Asterisk, came a voice from just outside the door. I launched a pillow in its general direction, knowing it would hit nothing. Pulling the covers over my head, I let out a frustrated groan. They could easily blow the door off its hinges if they wanted to, and they'd just cut a check to fix it without blinking. Asterisk Lilith. Seriously, You can't stay in there forever. Just talk to us. Asterisk, another voice said. That had to be Caden. He seemed like the weaker link. Mental note, exploit that later. I inhaled the second granola bar, feeling marginally better. Then, to my surprise, I heard movement in the living room and kitchen, followed by the sound of the front door closing. Was this a trick? A ruse to lure me out? Cautiously, I opened the bedroom door, a crack. Their scents were faint now. Could it be real? I bolted out, checking every corner of my apartment. To my shock, they'd actually left. I dashed to the front door and threw the deadbolt, just in case. My stomach growled, and I couldn't help wondering if they'd left any food. Sure enough, the top shelf of the fridge was now stacked with containers, egg rolls, drinks, and enough takeout to feed a small army. C. They care for us, thoughtful mates. Rose purred. Yeah, sure. Real gentlemen. I scoffed. They probably wear spandex and throw themselves at each other for fun. Dumb jocks thinking with their dicks. We need a real partner, someone with a brain. I muttered, mouth full of lo mein. As I ate, my eyes landed on a neatly folded note. The handwriting was so flawless it practically screamed perfectionism. I almost didn't read it, but curiosity won. Big mistake. The moment I processed the words, I choked. Literally, a chunk of chicken lodged itself in my throat, cutting off all air. I panicked. Flailing uselessly. Do something. Ram into the counter. Rose shrieked in desperation. With no other options, I hurled myself into the edge of the kitchen island. The chicken dislodged, flying out of my mouth and landing on the floor with a disgusting splat. I collapsed, gasping for air, my chest heaving. Porter chokes to death on General TSO. Story at 5, I muttered, bitterly amused. I rolled onto the couch, exhausted and shaken. My wolf smug commentary didn't help. Ooh. Yeah, that's Caleb's scent. Rose sighed dreamily. He probably rubbed his bare ass on that pillow. I groaned, burying my face in the cushion. My instincts told me I couldn't avoid this forever. Sooner or later I'd have to face my mates. But alphas, Ashford alphas, no less, the Blood Moon Pack, they were notorious for their arrogance, their wealth, their Subai everything. Even in casual dating, I'd avoided anyone from that pack like the plague. One slip-up, one oops, and you'd be tied to them forever. And now, here, I was. I must have dozed off at some point, though I wasn't entirely sure. When I finally sat up properly, my gaze landed on a pen lying atop Silas's folder. Curiosity piqued. I grabbed it and opened the folder, only to freeze in shock. Not only had they answered every single question, but they'd also gone above and beyond. Drafting 2 full pages, as though they were writing the article themselves. For a brief fleeting moment, I considered just submitting it as is and calling it a day. Let's read it. My wolf piped up, her excitement buzzing through me. I want to know all about them, and about our new family. I waved her off, ignoring her insistent tone, and stood up, suddenly reminded of my food. But as I turned toward the kitchen, reality hit me like a freight train. My stomach dropped as my eyes caught the clock on the wall. I'd lost half an hour. Stupid. I hissed under my breath, grabbing my phone and frantically flipping through the call log. My fingers moved faster than my thoughts as I dialed. Ring. Come on, pick up, I muttered, my pulse hammering in my ears. They had at least a 72-minute head start on me now. There was no way I could close that gap, not without a car. Panic crept in. Maybe I could try to get their cell numbers. But that would take time, and there would definitely be questions I didn't want to answer. Think, Lily, think. You need a car. Who has a car? Snatching my shoes and purse, I shoved an egg roll into my mouth on my way out the door. I took the stairs 2 at a time, practically vaulting down to the next building. Bang! 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 Briar, it's Lily, I called, knocking harder. The knot of anxiety in my stomach tightened with each second that passed. My mind raced through worst-case scenarios. Maybe I should just give up and crawl into a hole. No, that wasn't an option. Finally, the door opened, and there stood Briar, the undeniably sexy werfox I'd sort of dated in the past. Her tousled hair and flushed face made it clear I'd interrupted something. She leaned casually against the doorframe, raising an eyebrow. Oh, hey Lily, not the best time. Unless, of course, you'd like to join. Her lips curved into a mischievous smirk. On any other day, I might have shoved her back inside and torn that robe off her. But right now, I was teetering between losing my lunch and clawing someone's face off. No thanks, I muttered, forcing myself to focus. Actually, I need a favor. My visitor came unexpectedly and I need to run to the pharmacy. Can I borrow your car? Her smirk softened. Sure, no problem. I'm staying in anyway. She tossed me her keys, which I caught midair. I'll owe you one. I'll fill it up, I said, already turning away. No rush. Just bring it back tomorrow. Oh, and the door's usually unlocked if you remember, I nodded. But my eyes betrayed me glancing at the curve of her exposed skin. She adjusted her robe lazily, giving me an accidental or maybe intentional glimpse of her perfect body. My mind wandered for a split second, recalling old memories, and I quickly shook the thought away. Thanks, I mumbled, retreating as fast as I could. 2 hours and 10 unanswered calls later, I was on the verge of losing my mind. No amount of wishful thinking or denial could shake the sinking feeling in my gut. This wasn't a prank. Deep down, I knew it wasn't. As I reached the Crystal Moon Packhouse gate, one of the guards approached, clearly unfamiliar with the car I was driving. Hey, Lily, he greeted, flashing a smile. I just met your mates, really cool dudes, super funny. My jaw clenched. Shit, I muttered under my breath before flooring the gas pedal, speeding past him. The pack's security was laughable. No way that guy could stop anything more threatening than a squirrel. I slammed on the brakes when I spotted the sleek black pickup truck, parked outside my parents' house. Completely out of place among the other cars, it stood like a gleaming monument to arrogance. Voices and laughter carried from the backyard. My temper flared as I stormed around the house. There they were, sitting comfortably by a small fire with my parents, looking as if they owned the place. Oh, sweetie, my mom called, her face lighting up as she noticed me. The boys told us you might drop by. Why didn't you tell me you found your mates? And they're such lovely gentlemen. Lovely gentlemen, I muttered under my breath, suppressing a hysterical laugh. Oh, Mrs. Emery, Caleb began, taking my mom's hand and pressing a kiss to it. Lily wanted to keep us all to herself, but we thought it was only right to introduce ourselves. Adorable. Asterisk, my wolf cooed. I balled my fists, growling under my breath. Caden, Caleb, inside now, I said. My voice tight with barely restrained fury. Absence makes the heart grow fonder, I quipped, standing up and slipping my arm around my mate. Oh, she was furious. And damn, was it attractive. Sure, this plan of ours was sneaky, bold, and borderline reckless. But it was exactly what we needed. It got her out of her self-imposed isolation, gave us a chance to meet her parents, and, as a bonus, left her seething and sexy as hell. All things considered. Mission accomplished. Her mom was over the moon about her finally settling down. And her dad couldn't wait to boast to the entire pack that his daughter was mated to alphas. Oddly enough, they seemed to care more about that than our reputation as star athletes. Apparently, human sports weren't much of a selling point here. Caleb and I had even prepped this elaborate spiel to win over her dad, complete with key points and a few jokes. Total waste of time. It makes something all right, Lily muttered, with a forced smile at her dad, who was currently thumbing through one of her old baby photo albums. The picture of her rushing to the potty, priceless. Caleb teased, grinning. Yeah. By the time she made it, it was already too late. Her dad chuckled, clearly amused. We joined in on the laughter, though the growl rumbling from Lily's chest made it hard to keep a straight face. I'd never found her more alluring. Honestly, the entire drive here, knowing she was stuck stewing in her anger for 2 solid hours, was like the ultimate foreplay, and the cherry on top. When we arrived, her mom casually mentioned she'd left her phone at her sister's house, and her dad didn't even own one, so they hadn't received a single heads-up about our arrival. It was perfect. Every piece of the puzzle just slid into place, like it was destined to happen this way. In the house now, Lily snarled, her tone laced with barely restrained fury, her parents oblivious to the tension simmering beneath the surface. Just looked delighted. I could tell this moment meant the world to them. Anything for you, sweetheart, I said smoothly, guiding her inside with an arm around her waist. Caleb trailed close behind, his grin widening as her anger practically crackled in the air. We were getting closer to what we wanted. Her shift. Once her wolf emerged, instincts would take over, and there'd be no going back. She'd submit, as nature intended. Some might call it unfair, but I saw it as inevitable. The goddess had chosen us as mates, and there was no fighting that. She didn't want a rejection, so why not lean into fate and get things moving? We walked through the kitchen where we'd just spent an oddly wholesome half-hour helping her mom make lemonade. She'd regaled us with stories of Lily's high school years, her top grades, her achievements, her complete lack of interest in sports. Not a surprise, really. Her mom, however, had made it clear she wasn't thrilled with Lily's current college dating habits. That, of course, she assumed would end now that we were in the picture. If only she knew our own past. Hell, I prayed she never did. Whatever Lily's lifestyle, it was probably tame compared to ours. But this was our chance to start fresh. Are you two absolute idiots? Lily snapped, stepping into Caleb's space with a fury that sent a thrill down my spine. He smirked, crossing his arms. Thigh-dod, she's stunning when she's angry. Asterisk, Caleb said through the mind link, completely irresistible. Asterisk, I agreed, considering how far we should push her. Caleb, of course, had no limits. He loved to test boundaries. I pushed them too, but I at least knew when to stop. No. Just eager to meet the family. We've already told our parents all about you, and honestly, it crushed us to know you were hiding us, sexy pants, Caleb said, fluttering his lashes dramatically. I laughed, shaking my head. Caleb could have been an actor. Our parents, though, they were ecstatic and couldn't wait to meet Lily. We'd already arranged for her to visit Blood Moon to get acquainted with the pack. They wouldn't understand her reluctance about becoming Luna Hell. We didn't fully get it either. 1,000,000 she-wolves would kill for the chance to lead our pack. Blood Moon wasn't just any territory. It was perfectly situated between breathtaking coastline and a bustling city. Hiding you? It's barely been 24 hours, she exclaimed, throwing her hands up. I can't even, freaking males. She glared at both of us, her frustration radiating like heat from the sun. And yet, I couldn't stop my grin. Yep. Mission definitely accomplished. Something stirred deep within me as I watched her squirm, her breath hitching in short, uneven gasps. It was unbearable. My body screamed for more, craved it with an intensity that felt almost primal. My skin burned like it was aflame, and my mind raced with questions. She wasn't dressed to impress. Her hair was a wild mess, like she'd just woken up from a nap. But none of that mattered. To me, she was the most breathtaking woman I'd ever laid eyes on. Maps had always fascinated me. They were my thing now. I needed one of her. A mental map of Lily's body. I wanted every curve, every line etched into my mind. Kiss her. Kiss her. She'll want it once she feels us. My wolf Haiti urged. Haiti and Caleb's wolf couldn't be more different. Almost opposites. But since we'd found our mate, even they seemed to be in sync, a rare and unsettling shift. I stepped forward, placing my hands on her waist, catching her off guard. Her wide eyes locked on mine as her lips parted slightly, caught somewhere between hesitation and curiosity. Gently, I pulled her closer, my right hand brushing her face, tilting it just enough so my lips could meet hers. Softly, deliberately, I kissed her. Caleb had wanted to fight over who'd get the first taste, the first claim, but I'd argued she should decide. He'd scoffed, saying that if we left it up to her, we'd be waiting forever. As much as I hated to admit it, his arrogant reasoning stuck with me. My wolf agreed, pushing me further. Seth said, she just needs to know what she's missing. Hadid insisted, his voice a low growl in my mind. As I pressed against her, savoring the softness of her body against mine, she didn't move. She didn't kiss me back, but she didn't push me away either. No slap. No rejection. That had to mean something, right? Every nerve in my body came alive. Her breath mingling with mine, our chests brushing with each shallow inhale. It was like the universe narrowing to just the two of us. She was my mate. My everything now. Dallas. Dick, if I kissed her, you'd say I was being too much. Caleb muttered through our mind link, breaking my concentration. You wouldn't be sweet like this. I shot back, still savoring the kiss. I can be sweet. He grumbled, but we both knew better. That wasn't his strong suit. Being 5 minutes older made me the eldest twin, and Caleb never let me forget it. Our parents always treated us as equals, and we were both set to become alphas together. But he constantly acted like I had some invisible edge. Finally, I pulled back, searching her face as she stared at me, her lips slightly swollen from the kiss. For a brief victorious moment, I reveled in having rendered her speechless, the ever-mouthy reporter at a loss for words. Still, the tension between us gnawed at me. I needed her to say something. Compliments. That's what they all want. Hades said, practically bouncing with excitement. He wasn't wrong. Compliments were a good start, but would she even accept one? Or would she brush it off and call me something sarcastic? If I be sincere? Hades pressed, sounding suspiciously like a lovesick coach. You're so beautiful, Lilith, I said. My voice soft, as I stroked her unruly hair and held her gaze. Her reaction was immediate. She grabbed my hand, shoved it away, and stepped back, her back pressing against the fridge. Her scowl was sharp, cutting through whatever tenderness had started to build between us. This was low. Really low. Coming here like this, she said, her voice low and angry, you wouldn't talk to us. We had to do something, Caleb said, stepping closer. And what made you think? It would fix anything. This just made everything worse, she snapped, crossing her arms as she looked away. Are you embarrassed by us? I asked, tilting my head slightly. The thought striking like a fresh wound, that couldn't be it. It wasn't possible. Our fathers led the largest, most powerful packs. We owned a wildly successful construction company. Caleb and I had both majored in architectural design with minors in business. I was the dreamer, the one who could sketch anything and see the bigger picture. Caleb, of course, was the charmer, the one who could sell ice to an Eskimo and make him beg for more. He thrived in HR and hiring, connecting with people in ways I never could. Even our younger twin sisters, Violet and Chloe, were shaping up to be extraordinary. At 15, they were already brilliant with computers and graphic design. Though I preferred my pencil and paper. Our family wasn't just strong. We were exceptional. Lily needed to see that she could have it all with us. Seppin, she doesn't know that about us. Hadid said, his voice tinged with frustration. She would. If she read the damn interview we spent hours perfecting. I shot back. The irritation bubbling up. I'm not embarrassed, she finally said, her voice cracking as a tear slid down her cheek. I can't wrap my head around this. I have dreams, ambitions. I can't achieve them if I'm stuck in a pack house making sandwiches and wiping snotty noses. That's not the life I've ever wanted. I want to live in the city, to work, to have my own identity. Her words struck like a knife. My wolf growled, low and guttural, demanding I comfort her. But how could I give her what she wanted when it went against everything we were? Everything we needed. This was her destiny. Our destiny. She could have a career, sure, but living in the city. Living without us. That was impossible. When dinner rolled around, a swarm of people descended on my parents' backyard. They pitched 2 massive tents, complete with tables and enough food to cater to an entire wedding reception, or a small village. It was overkill, to say the least. Dad, never one to miss an opportunity, made his rounds and invited half the neighborhood. By the time I realized what was happening, the backyard was packed. My parents, the quiet, unassuming couple I grew up with, had somehow become the stars of the Ashford Brothers popularity sweepstakes. The air was thick with congratulations, warm hugs, and an unrelenting avalanche of questions. Oh, your mates must be loaded to afford all this. They're so handsome. Are they models? Are you expecting already? Do you think you'll have twins? I felt trapped, like the walls were closing in around me. Their excitement, their questions, all of it was suffocating. The things they cared about, the things they thought were so important, felt like an affront to everything I valued. Finally, when I couldn't take it anymore, I slipped away to my old bedroom. The moment the door shut behind me, I collapsed onto my bed, staring at the familiar ceiling. How many nights had I lain here, dreaming about winning a Pulitzer? How many hours had I poured into perfecting my craft, speech, grammar, everything? Sure, I might curse like a sailor, but I could write circles around anyone, and I knew it. Was it all for nothing? Years of chasing stories, stakeouts, always being in the right place at the right time. I'd landed front page scoops for every major edition of the paper, and now, I was expected to trade it all away like it was nothing. I turned onto my side. A tear slipping down my cheek. Thiding, come on. At least talk to them. Rose urged gently in the back of my mind. It might not be as bad as you think. If they're going to be alphas, they'll have a lot of influence. They could open doors for you. They'll never let me do what I really want. I replied bitterly. They'll never let me live apart from them. I knew I sounded like a brat, petty, ungrateful even. But how could they expect me to give up everything I'd worked so hard for? The twins, they wouldn't have to change a thing about their lives. If anything, this arrangement simplified theirs. One woman to remember. One body to claim. One person to warm their bed, trip over herself at the sight of their perfect smiles, strong jawlines, and annoyingly perfect blue eyes. Pricks. A murmur from the backyard broke through my thoughts. Something had shifted. Curious, I got up and peeked out the window. My stomach dropped as I watched the brothers embrace a couple. "Oh, you've got to be kidding me," I muttered. "They invited their parents." I glanced down at my leggings and cursed my lack of foresight. I knew I'd be coming home. I knew my parents would be here. But this circus, not a chance I could have predicted it. Panicked. I locked the door, like that would stop them if they really wanted in, and began rummaging through my closet. Most of it consisted of my mom's approved wardrobe, dull, shapeless, and skinless. It screamed single and staying that way. "Try the navy blue dress," Rose suggested eagerly. "It'll look good with your hair. Straighten it, add a little mascara. Maybe I should just shift and go out there since you are so excited about this," I said aloud, sarcasm dripping from every word. "Though why?" "Oh yes. Please. I would love that." Rose squealed in delight. I dropped onto the bed and wagged a finger at the closet. There was no way I'd let her out, not now. Leaning over, I peeked out the other window, watching the twins introduce their parents to mine. "I am gonna be sick," I groaned, burying my face in my hands. "Lily? Sweetheart, are you okay?" Aunt Freya's voice drifted through the door, followed by the sound of her trying the locked knob. "I am fine, thanks," I called out, already pulling the stupid navy dress off its hanger. It wasn't ugly, but it wasn't exactly flattering either. I'd last worn it to a funeral 4 years ago, and it hung a little loose now, probably because I'd dropped a size since leaving the pack. "Since you stopped eating like a normal person," Rose chastised. "No one likes a punch," I muttered under my breath. "What was that, dear? Punch?" "I don't think we have any, but I can check," Freya called back, her footsteps retreating down the hall. I shook my head at her simplicity. This pack, for all its warmth, was simple, and there is nothing wrong with that, Rose insisted. "Simple, sweet, and homey. Sure. And there'll be none of those qualities at Blood Moon," I huffed. "Foon you. Don't know that." Rose shot back with a snarl. "Fine." She had a point. I dug out an old flat iron and what little makeup I could find. This wasn't how I'd planned to spend my evening playing hostess to the Ashford parents, but I didn't have much choice now. "They want to show you off," Rose said, practically glowing. "This is our moment. Let them be proud of us." Yeah, right. Like she'd done anything to deserve that pride. The most notable thing she'd accomplished recently was catching a squirrel one I was convinced was brain damaged, considering how slow it moved. Maybe the twins had brain damage too. That would explain so much. "Tonight at 11, I muttered to myself. Local reporter uncovers shocking truth. Are future alphas victims of football-related head trauma, or do they just need Botox? Stay tuned. By the time I slipped the dress on and checked myself in the mirror, I had to admit I didn't look half bad. Scratch that. I looked good, and when I looked good, I felt confident. "Thestine, you don't need war paint or fancy hair tricks to be beautiful," Rose murmured, her tone soft, reassuring. "Bullshit," I muttered. This level of hotness didn't just happen. It took effort. I rarely stayed over at anyone's place when I dated, and when I did, it was an oversight. Bringing someone home, never. I needed an escape route, and something told me that kind of privacy solitude I treasured was about to become a relic of my past. "Fine, you won't be alone anymore. We'll have a whole pack to care for," Rose chimed in, practically glowing with joy. I shook my head, eyes drifting down to my bare feet. There was no way sneakers or flip-flops would work with this dress. A quick dig through the closet confirmed my worst suspicion. My sense of fashion must have kicked in high after I left this house. Fuck it, I grumbled, swinging the bedroom door open. I startled Aunt Freya, who nearly dropped the drink she was holding. Oh, here is your lemonade, she said, handing it to me with a sheepish smile, judging by her expression. She'd been standing there for a while. Probably heard half my one-sided argument with Rose. Too wrapped up in pulling myself together, I hadn't even noticed. I took a long gulp, then laughed. You should have spiked this, Freya. She tilted her head, concern etched across her face. Dear, are you okay? You can talk to me, you know. Her eyes darted to my bare feet, clearly unimpressed. Freya and my mom were cut from the same cloth, prim, proper, and practically allergic to anything bold or brash. Mom had made a small fortune off my high school swear jar. Cussing in her presence was a mortal sin, and between the two of them, I doubted they'd ever touched a drop of alcohol unless it was cooked into a recipe. Just ready to get this the hell over with, I said, linking my arm with hers. As we wove through the crowd, I tried to suppress the unease simmering in my gut. Normally, I thrived on being prepared, but tonight I was flying blind. No plan, no strategy, no clue what was coming. It made my skin itch, and I knew the mouthy, impatient side of me wasn't far behind. So good. Something new for us to deal with. Rose giggled in my mind. It felt unfair. Having this constant voice teasing me, knowing there wasn't a damn thing I could do to silence her without hurting myself. The first day as a shifter. Should I grab one of those 5 dictionaries you own to explain it to you? Rose teased. You are awfully chatty for someone who is never shifting again. I shot back just as Freya and I made our way through the crowd. Suddenly, a wave of heat rippled through me. Is it hot in here? Do you feel that? Rose's voice went still as vivid. Uninvited images flashed through my mind. Last year, I'd covered a story about a she-wolf who'd gone into heat after stumbling upon her mate for the first time, no less while he was mid-act with someone else. She'd instantly submitted to him. It was pathetic. 1 second he was inside someone else, and the next he was claiming her. Right there in the first girl. She just stood there watching. Yeah. I got a picture of the whole thing. You are one to talk. Now shut up and behave. Rose snapped, dragging me out of the memory. There she is, Dad called, his voice cutting through the noise. He pushed through the crowd, his expression one of relief. She needed a quick pep talk from Aunt Freya. Someone chirped beside me. I turned, raising an eyebrow at the woman who beamed like she'd done something worthy of applause. Aren't you going to introduce me, Lily? She added, giving me an unnecessary nudge with her elbow. Ah, there it was. Everyone wanted something. Dad, ever the diplomat, grabbed my other arm, and together we moved toward the twins and their parents. They were deep in conversation with the Pax Beta and his mate, laughter spilling from their little circle. For a fleeting second, I wondered what was so funny. Then I realized I didn't actually care. Maybe this was all a dream. Maybe that beer I'd had at the frat house had been spiked, and I was in a coma. Too much to hope for. Hey, beautiful, Caleb said, his voice drawing me out of my thoughts. Come meet my mom. Before I could respond, Dad handed me off like a package. Caleb reached for my hand, and the moment his fingers touched mine, my body betrayed me. Every ounce of tension melted away. I glanced over my shoulder at Dad, who now looked like a bundle of nerves. Not exactly the calm, collected man I was used to seeing. Maybe even he was overwhelmed by the Ashfords. I could hardly blame him for that. Caleb interlocked our fingers. A move so casual yet utterly inescapable. I felt trapped. If this is being trapped. Where are the handcuffs? Lock me in, Rose swooned, completely unhelpful. Mom, Dads, this is our mate, Lilith Emery, Caleb announced, his smile radiating pride. I took in the three standing before me. There was no denying the presence they carried, a subtle mix of allure and authority, paired with an unspoken air of superiority, arrogance even. Their mother wasn't particularly tall, standing a few inches shorter than me, though the twins themselves couldn't be much over 6 feet. She was undeniably beautiful, with long, dark chocolate brown hair and mismatched eyes. One a deep brown, the other a piercing blue. She wore no makeup, no jewelry, and yet her casual sundress and sandals screamed high-end designer. Then my gaze shifted to their fathers. A textbook alpha if there ever was one. Tall, broad, and powerfully built, their massive shoulders and rugged frame practically shouted dominance. They had the kind of presence that suggested they'd look just as natural swinging an axe as they did in Thea's neatly pressed blue polo and khakis. Their dark hair was streaked with the beginnings of gray, and his weathered features hinted at a life well lived and hard fought. Lilith, it is so wonderful to meet you. I am Sophia. The boys couldn't be happier. Their mother greeted warmly. Okay. Not a hugger. That is a point in her favor, I suppose. At least she wasn't overly familiar. I don't know them very well yet, but they seem rather persistent. You can just call me Lily, I replied with a tight smile. Was that a compliment? Maybe. It was the best I could manage under the circumstances. Both parents exchanged a glance before their father stepped forward, his voice deep but kind. And I am Ethan. This is Kieran. We couldn't be happier to meet you. I shook both their hands, noting how neither insisted I address them by their alpha titles. I wasn't part of their pack, and I didn't owe them that courtesy. If they had insisted, though, I'd have looked like a jerk for refusing. They introduced themselves to my dad and aunt without hesitation, which I appreciated. It meant I could avoid talking as much as possible. Once the obligatory pleasantries were out of the way, conversation drifted to Caden making small talk with his parents about their journey. So, Lily, Sophia said after a few moments, her tone curious. Tell me about yourself. What is your passion? Well, I began, deadpan, letting my eyes flick between her and Kieran. The twins stared at me with barely veiled warnings in their expressions, silently pleading for me to behave. Fine, I could be cordial. Meeting parents wasn't tough and hard. You've never met anyone's parents before, Rose reminded me with a snort of laughter. Not helping. Straightening my posture, I decided on something safe. Something I could actually be proud of. I don't mean to brag, but I never end a sentence with a preposition. I consider it poor form, and anyone who respects the English language should feel the same. Crickets. Total silence. Really? Lilith. Goddess, I can't stand you sometimes, Rose muttered. Sophia smiled politely, clearly unsure of how to respond. That is good to know. I suppose it is not something I've ever given much thought to. Reporter has a midlife crisis at 21, quits journalism, and becomes a grammar teacher at a convent full story at 5. I quipped, nodding as if satisfied. Thankfully, my dad stepped in, filling the silence with tales of my time working for the school paper. He even mentioned some of my published stories, a few of which he'd framed. My mom had probably burned the scandalous ones. A reporter? That is fascinating, Ethan said with a warm smile. We haven't had one of those in the family before. Cheery. Too cheery. No one is genuinely this happy all the time. Stop being a brat. Just relax, Rose scolded. The conversation drifted without me, which was fine. I wasn't exactly dying to be the center of attention. At one point, family photo albums were brought out, and my mom started reminiscing about how Aunt Freya had made the dress I wore to a formal dance. She even mentioned how she'd hoped my date Henry, the biggest nerd imaginable, might have turned out to be my fated mate. I barely suppressed a gag. The twins had wandered off to talk football with some of the other males, leaving me to entertain myself. Deciding it was time to dig up some dirt, I leaned closer to Sophia, my voice casual. So, which one of the boys' girlfriends was your favorite and why? I kept my expression neutral, but inside I was dying to see her reaction. Sophia didn't miss a beat. If she was caught off guard, she didn't show it. Well, there was a young lady named Crystal. She grew up with the boys. They were very close as pups. I thought she might be their mate, but of course fate had other plans. And here we are with you. Such a lovely home you have, she added, beaming at my mom. Damn. Score 1 for Luna Ashford. The woman was quick. Big hands suddenly settled on my hips, sending a jolt through me. My body betrayed me, leaning instinctively into the touch. Caleb, it had to be. Sophia's approving smile didn't help my annoyance. So Lily, Caleb murmured, his voice low but loud enough for others to hear. How about the three of us go for a run? You can show us your Pax land. Oh, goddess, please, let's go. I'll do anything, Lily. Please. Rose begged, practically squealing. Not happening. I replied firmly, crossing my arms. That sounds. My mom began, her words trailing off as her gaze landed on my face. The face she knows far too well. Actually, I think we should probably head back, I said quickly, forcing a smile so tight it hurt my cheeks. I've got a lot to work on, and finals are right around the corner. Coming home tonight wasn't really in the plan. Well, surely you'll be at the big game next Saturday, Sophia said with a cheery tone as Caden hugged her. Of course she will. Lily's our biggest fan now, Caleb chimed in, tightening his arm around me like a vice. It is really amazing. You never noticed your connection during a game, Kieran added, his arms snug around his mate. 5 sets of Ashford eyes turned to me. Waiting for an explanation, I let out a dry laugh. Oh, I've never gone to watch the jocks bash their heads in for fun. Honestly, I wouldn't even know what I am looking at. They just run around yelling, throwing a ball until someone topples over, right? If I wanted that kind of chaos, I'd go hang out in the ball pit at Chuck E. Cheese, I said, snorting at the absurdity of it all. Wasting a perfectly good evening on that. You'd be better off rolling me in honey and dumping me in a landfill. Their collective expressions were priceless. 5 Ashfords, staring at me like I'd sprouted a second head. I really do hate you. Rose groaned, practically stomping her paw in my mind. Well, I certainly hope you'll make an exception for this game. It is a big deal. Practically the entire pack will be there to cheer on their future alphas, Kieran said, giving his mate an affectionate squeeze. Sophia beamed, her sons looking at her like she could light up the world with her smile. And, of course, there is the big party we throw before the last game of the season, Caleb added, nodding like it was already decided. You'll definitely be there for that, Caden said, his tone leaving no room for argument. Oh, will I? You want me to go to a game too and a party? The week before finals, I asked, silently begging the universe not to strike me down where I stood. Spare me. I swear I am a good person. I just hate awkward social situations. I hate forced gatherings. Like, oh, I don't know. This one. Surely a few hours away from the books will do you some good, Caleb said, his hand finding its way to my waist. I think Lily needs some dinner. I haven't seen her eat all night, Caden interjected smoothly, steering me away with Caleb's help. If there is one thing I can't stand, it is when a guy puts his hand on the small of your back to guide you somewhere. It reeks of control. I hate it. Oh. That is the Fendi thing you hate. I am going to stick my head in a hole and be done with you. Rose groaned dramatically. Caleb led me into one of the food tents, the kind with sides that blocked prying eyes. For the first time tonight, we didn't have an audience, but the moment was anything but a reprieve. Both of them loomed close, boxing me in. You know, Caden murmured near my ear, his voice low and sinful, your tongue's been running all night, little mate. But mine, it hasn't had its turn yet. Maybe we should head inside so it can get a proper workout. Rose froze. And so did I, suspended in some strange limbo between time and space, though my body burned with a heat I couldn't ignore. My jaw began to drop, but I snapped it shut. No. We are not doing this. Not here. Not at my parents' house. You are a psychopath, I whispered, my voice low but sharp. But I am severe psychopath, little mate, and it takes one to know one, Caden said, taking my hand and brushing a kiss across it, his smile wickedly soft. I didn't trust the twins, not for a single solitary second. On the drive back to school, I made sure they were ahead of me the entire way, convinced they might turn around and head for my pack to pull some ridiculous stunt. When they suggested one of them ride with me, my immediate response was a resounding hell no. They'd definitely ditch us if they heard your car singing. My wolf commented, shaking her head in amused disapproval. I happen to decide I love singing in the car, and if you don't like it, I simply don't care. I shot back, wiggling my head in rhythm with the music. You clearly didn't grow up appreciating the finer things in life. Finer things? Really? You are going to convince me that To the Window, to the Wall is real music? She retorted dryly, ignoring her sass. I cranked up the volume on my playlist, and Lady Gaga's Sivdi Poker Faced filled the car. Perfect timing. They're not gonna read Fembi Poker Face. I am winning this battle of wits, I declared, tapping my hands on the steering wheel in triumph. Sewer. Because the end result changes anything. This little game of cat and mouse just seems like foreplay for you. I think they're into it, the thrill of the chase and all. My wolf added, sounding way too entertained. Oh, so now you are saying you want to help me mess with them? Little Miss Perfect, I challenged, smirking. If Rose got on board, this could actually be fun. Two minds working together might even level the playing field. For how long? I swear. If it is the day before the full moon and you are still playing this game, I will not hesitate to put you in heat. You are not rejecting them. So what is the point of waiting? She huffed. For as long as it takes to win, I replied smugly. Just as Bistis, when Let's Get Loud by J-Lu started blaring through the speakers. It is just a party, baby, I hollered, dancing in my seat. Turn the music up. Let's do it. Come on, people, let's get loud. That song was my anthem, pure energy and confidence. Nobody could tell me anything. When I was in my element, no excuses. Let's get luwooed, Rose chimed in, flashing me an image of her swaying her hips dramatically. I grinned. Game on. The rest of the drive passed quickly. And when we got back to campus, the twins' truck veered toward the frat house. I happily turned toward my building, ready to enjoy my own space. That night, something unexpected happened. Nothing. No calls, no visits, not even a text. If they were mad, I didn't care. If they were giving me space, even better. I got up early, went for a run, swung by the store, and returned Haley's car keys. Later, as I stood in my kitchen, blending a protein shake, music blasting, my good mood took a nosedive. Knock, knock, knock. I frowned. Peeking through the peephole, Dahlia, opening the door, I reminded myself not to let her ruin my vibe. She might be irritating, but she was a decent person. And well-connected. I probably owed her a few favors by now. "Hey, Leah," I greeted, plastering on my best smile. "Hey, you. I was kinda wondering if you could do me a favor." "I am in a bit of a bind," she said, grimacing. "Oh, hell. I knew. I should have ignored the door. A favor like grabbing you coffee or lending you a pencil?" I asked. Hopeful. Those were easy enough. Miss Congeniality over here. Rose quipped, laughing in my head. "Well, you've probably heard about the big football game on Saturday night," Dahlia began, fidgeting nervously with the hem of her shirt. "I've heard it mentioned," I said evenly, bracing myself. "So, my dad's nonprofit works with at-risk teens and runaways. After the last game of the season, they host a big auction to raise funds. I need volunteers," she explained, biting her lip. She is lying. "There is more to this," Rose observed. "Oh, volunteers for what, exactly? Waiting tables? Cooking?" I asked, crossing my arms. "Well, no, actually, we auction off dates. People bid, and the winners get an evening with the volunteers. The game's at 4 and the auction starts at 8. We've even got a limo company and restaurants donating their services," she said, her voice gaining enthusiasm. I narrowed my eyes. "And you need?" "I've got the Ashford brothers on board, which is huge. They've never agreed before. But now I need 2 females," she admitted. "Are you one of them?" "Oh no," she stammered, blushing. "I am not pretty enough for that. I mean, who'd even bid on me? Let's give her a makeover." Rose piped up, practically vibrating with excitement. The worst part was I agreed. Not only would a makeover do wonders for her, but I'd rake in more bids, which would be great for my ego, and maybe drive the twins crazy. "I'll do it to it. If you do it," I said, watching her reaction. "But I'll need you to cover our outfits. I'll handle your hair and makeup, though. You know me. Details matter." Her eyes lit up, and after some playful negotiation, we made plans to look for gowns over lunch. By the time we reached the dining hall, it was packed. Sunday mornings on campus were a special kind of chaos. Hungover students still reeking of last night's bad decisions crammed together, chasing greasy food and caffeine. Normally, I avoided the place on weekends, but I was playing along with Leah's plan, and it was starting to grow on me. I grabbed a tray, added a few things, and made my way to the sunroom area where Leah had already claimed a seat. Just as I crossed into the smaller room, their scents hit me like a freight train. "Thadio, sit there, sit with them," Rose demanded, practically wagging her metaphorical tail. "Hard to get. Remember? Focus." I reminded her, forcing myself to walk straight past the twins' table without even a glance. I slid into the chair across from Leah and immediately launched into a discussion about dresses. Her favorite colors, preferred styles. All of it. I was halfway through explaining why a sweetheart neckline would perfectly complement her figure when Fudali interrupted. Both of them crashed into the table, dropping into seats like they owned the place. Caleb reached over and swiped the cookie off my tray without so much as a word. "Dami cookie, my sign-dine treat for the entire weekend. It is a small world after all," Caden said, smirking as his eyes locked on mine. I glanced at Leah, who was frozen in place, her face drained of color. Great. She was going to be zero help. "Are you donkeys lost?" I asked, picking up a banana from my tray with deliberate slowness. I peeled it, taking my time, and then licked the tip. All 3 sets of eyes were glued to me, their focus unwavering as I made a show of taking a bite, letting out a small satisfied hum. "I think we're exactly where we're supposed to be," Caden replied, his smirk widening. Keeping an eye on you, making sure you stay out of trouble. Trouble, me? I asked innocently, taking another slow, deliberate bite of the banana. Leah was still as a statue, while the twins seemed utterly captivated. There's Susan something you could do for me, Caleb, I said suddenly, shifting my attention to him. My voice softened, laced with just the right amount of suggestion. His eyebrows shot up. And what is that? I leaned forward slightly, nibbling on the banana again, as I rested my hand lightly on his. The effect was immediate. His whole body stiffened at the contact. I really need. I began, drawing out the words, locking eyes with him. Yeah? He asked, leaning in closer. I need. I paused for dramatic effect, licking my lips. For you to get your ass up and get me another cookie. The ones with Esc, I finished, releasing his hand and pointing toward the bakery section. I refused to believe Lily's attitude wasn't intentional. The fiery push and pull between us lit a spark that I knew burned just as brightly for her as it did for us. If she wanted to play hard to want, fine too could play that game. But she'd learn soon enough that I don't fight fair, not when it comes to my mate. That said, I wasn't fetching her another damn cookie. Not after the way she acted in front of our parents. Sure, springing the whole thing on her without warning wasn't ideal, but that didn't excuse her behavior. Especially not when her family had been nothing but welcoming. I wasn't about to let her cling to whatever skewed opinion she'd formed about us. She needed to see who we really were. Our family, our values, and everything we stood for. Lily thought we were some kind of pretentious assholes. But that was her decision, not the truth. Dahlia, good to see you. Shoot me an email at my school address with the details for Saturday night, where we need to be and when, I said. Throwing her a quick wink, her face turned as red as a ripe apple, and she nodded, avoiding eye contact. Shy girls were a treat, but I always had a soft spot for feisty ones too. Stop looking at her. She is not our mate. Asterisk, my wolf growled in frustration. Relax, we're leaving now. No more distractions. Asterisk, I said to Caden over the mind link. Without another word, we got up and walked away. We had practice later, but first, we planned to unwind with some video games. A ritual that always helped us clear our heads. Hey, Fang. No commentary, I muttered internally, already anticipating his scolding. Normally, video game time included. Let's just say extracurricular activities. Yeah. Sometimes we were pigs. But it wasn't just for us. The girls loved it too. No harm, no foul, right? Not today. Asterisk, I snapped at Fang before he could interrupt my thoughts further. What is crawled up your ass? Caden asked as we made our way home. She is just impossible, I said, clenching my fists. Why does she have to make everything so difficult? And why the hell does she have to look so damn good while doing it? Caden laughed. I don't know, man. She drives me crazy too. Honestly, I was shocked that Tudu were the one who wanted to go home last night. What was the alternative? Stalking her door? Her window. We're Ashfords, not pathetic losers, I said, pounding my chest for emphasis. Caden laughed harder. Well, her calling you a caveman wasn't entirely off the mark. Maybe we need to rethink a few things. I admitted reluctantly. I wasn't always proud of my actions. My wolf didn't let me forget when I stepped out of line. This weekend, we need a solid plan, I said, rubbing my hands together. We're going all in. Last night's dream had only fueled my obsession. In it, Lily had shifted, and I'd chased her through the woods. The thrill, the hunt, it was intoxicating. When we caught her, she'd submitted willingly, and the rush of claiming her was indescribable. In the dream, it had felt like love, or something close to it. Yeah. but using Dahlia to push Lily into that auction. That was low even for us, Caden said, as we walked into the house. She'll be fine. Especially when we rake in a ton of money for her charity, I said, flopping onto the couch and scratching absently. Right. So what is the angle? Why would Lily agree to this auction? She'll only do it to prove a point, you know. She'll show up looking fierce as hell, expecting us to fall at her feet, Caden said, licking his lips at the thought. Not happening. We stay cool, no weaknesses, I said firmly. Knock, knock, boys, came a familiar voice from behind us. Crap. I hadn't thought to text Quinley not to come over. She was a classic Jersey chaser, but one who knew the rules. She never asked for anything serious, just mutual gratification. It worked for the most part. Hey, Quinn. Not today, we're just playing games, I said, crossing one ankle over my knee. She pouted and glanced at Caden for backup. But you've got practice. A big game this week. You need to unwind, she said, settling onto the couch beside me, her hand sliding onto my thigh. Asterisk number. Absolutely not. Asterisk Fang snapped. I grabbed her hand and placed it firmly back on her lap. This wasn't happening. We appreciate it, Quinley, but it is just us today, Caden said, standing to escort her out. Since when do you two ever? Her words cut off as the scent hit me. Jasmine, clean and fresh like a garden at dawn. My head snapped up just as Lily strolled into the living room. She didn't knock. She didn't announce herself. She just walked in, her gaze flicked to Quinley, her eyebrow arching in that way that always made my pulse race. Hey, Lily, Quinley said, her tone dripping with sarcasm. Here for video game time. A heads up would have been nice. She is, actually, Caden said, ushering Quinley out the door before she could protest further. Lily's arms crossed, pushing her tank top snugly against her chest. She wore leggings and a smirk that said she owned the room. Sorry to interrupt your time with the village frat mattress, she said, her voice dripping with mock sweetness. I laughed, unable to stop myself. Her wit was sharp, and I loved every jab. You know it is only you from now on, sweetheart. And we both know you won't be with anyone else either, I said, leaning back into the couch. She scowled, pulling her phone from her bra. The movement made me rub my face, desperate for control. How did she always manage to make me feel unsteady? Oh, she is not oblivious. I notice things. You guys mess her up plenty. Asterisk Fang said smugly. I covered my face for a moment, pretending to rub my eyes just to hide the grin tugging at my lips. Fang and I didn't always agree, but damn, he knew when to stroke my ego. It is like he could sense when I needed the boost. Honestly, I'd half expected Lily to lose her cool the second she saw Quinley. Maybe even throw something. Break a lamp or just raise hell. But no, she was too composed for that, too sharp, too damn good at playing her cards close to her chest. So, the sao anyway. Asterisk Lily began, her tone clipped. I am helping Dahlia ensure there are some donors with deep pockets. Surely you meatheads have connections. You know people. I want at least 5 names and numbers to call to make sure they'll be there. Her words were matter of fact, but her eyes carried that razor edge she always seemed to wield effortlessly. I glanced at Caden, shooting him to the look. The one that said, "Tufit, keep your mouth shut. I've got this." Asterisk he caught it immediately and leaned back, leaving the ball in my court. I pulled out my phone, the corner of my mouth twitching up in a small smile. Sure thing, beautiful. But you know, I let my words trail off for a moment, meeting her gaze. We want something too. I nodded toward Caden for emphasis, and we both waited. Her reaction was instant. I am not giving you head, so just fucking forget it. Creep. She turned to leave, already dismissing me, but I was quicker. I stepped in her path, blocking her exit with a casual move, raising my hands in mock surrender. TSK always assuming the worst, don't you? That is not what I was going to ask. I leaned in just enough to keep her attention locked on me. What I was going to say is, we have practice in 2 hours. And you know we've never been able to say our mate came to watch us play. It would be hot as hell if you did. Her expression shifted, cycling through a whole range of emotions I couldn't quite pin down. She didn't immediately tell me to screw off though, which was already a win in my book. I suppose. She started slowly, her tone laced with feigned indifference. It would help with the article if I actually knew what the hell it is you do. I smirked, knowing I'd hooked her. She might think she is playing it cool, but I was a master at negotiation. If she wanted to go toe-to-toe, I was all in. Perfect. I can hardly wait, I said smoothly, pulling up my contacts list. Now, about those donors. My aunt and uncle are big on charitable contributions. I'll give you his number. Uncle Fang, I added with a straight face, pretending to scroll through my phone. Fang. Really? Caden's voice rang out in my mind, laced with disbelief and barely contained laughter. Oh, and our cousin Haiti. He is a sucker for this kind of thing, I continued, taking Lily's phone from her and typing in the numbers. Asterisk. You are so fucking bad. Caden said through the mind link, struggling not to crack up. I didn't bother responding, handing Lily back her phone with a smirk. The other 3 contacts I gave her were legitimate professors, even our coach, but now the real fun was about to begin. I couldn't shake the nagging feeling that the twins were absolutely untrustworthy. There was something about their smug, overly confident demeanor that crawled under my skin in ways nothing else ever had. Why the hell did I agree to watch this Neanderthal nonsense? I could have been napping, hell, brushing my hair, or even flossing, would have been a more productive use of my time. But if I was going to endure this torture, I sure as hell wasn't doing it alone. Fine, knock. Knock, knock, asterisk. I let out a heavy sigh, drained the rest of my water bottle, and prepared to get this over with. No way was I planning to go above and beyond for this assignment. The twins had already given their interview, and Silas would likely tweak the article to his liking anyway, just to slap his name on it somewhere. Why should I do more than the bare minimum? After a quick fix of my messy bun, I marched to the door and yanked it open. There stood Briar, dressed in dangerously short jean shorts and a tank top so thin it was practically translucent, no bra in sight. Tithaverno. Great. Just the distraction I need. Asterisk. She looked hot as hell while I was rocking an oversized Rolling Stones t-shirt. Yes, the one with the tongue, leggings, zero makeup, and a half-assed messy bun. Bullshit. Asterisk rose, my inner voice, sneered. Asterisk, you are testing the waters. You want to see if the guys will look at her instead of you, asterisk. Hey girl. Briar greeted, her tone playful as she gave my arm a friendly smack. Thanks for inviting me. I haven't been to a practice in forever, but it always gets the juices flowing. Thanks for coming, I replied, shutting the door behind her. I've got this totally lame article to write on the Ashfords, and I know jack shit about football. She hooked her arm through mine, and the warmth of her skin against mine sent an unwelcome rush of nostalgia through me. The scent of her perfume Estee Lauder, Beyond Paradise, hit me like a freight train. God, I miss that smell. I missed toofy hair. Asterisk, what I wouldn't give for just one more night lost in Briar's paradise. Can you believe it is all almost over? She asked, her voice softening. Kind of depressing. Honestly, I thought I'd have found my mate by now, but nope. Looks like I am going home single, but we both knew better. Briar thrived on being single. Just like I did. She didn't have a clear vision for her future. Philosophy majors rarely did. But she wasn't in any rush to figure it out. As we walked to the stadium, I filled her in on Saturday's charity auction, casually dropping hints that she should come. Maybe I even suggested she bid on me. Wait, she interrupted. Are you talking about Elio Whitaker's charity event? What is it called again? Waves. I think so. Dahlia's dad is hosting it, so, yeah, I guess. Girl, the one last year was $500 a plate, she said, her eyes wide. Did you think the money came solely from the auction? $500 a plate? I repeated, practically choking. How the hell did Dahlia fail to mention that part? Thank God, I hadn't called any of the numbers Caleb had given me yet. What if someone asked about the cost? I hadn't even considered it. Rookie mistake. Whistle, blows. Asterisk. All right. Hustle up, lift those knees. A voice shouted from the field. Oh, look who it is. Asterisk. Rose purred as my gaze landed on Caden. It was so much easier to tell the twins apart now. It is because our body news. Asterisk. Rose teased in a sing-song voice. I rolled my eyes and turned back to Briar. I had no idea it was that expensive. That is insane. Yeah, last year's event was just a Chinese auction, not dates. Can you imagine how much they might bid for you now? Especially if they've got that kind of money? She teased, placing a hand on my leg and wiggling her eyebrows. I couldn't imagine anyone bidding serious money on me. $1,000, maybe at most. That would already be more than I'd spend on a charitable cause. Working for the paper wasn't exactly a high-paying gig. As Briar gushed about Caden's skills on the field, I absent-mindedly pulled out my phone and looked up Elio Whitaker's net worth. $40 million. My jaw dropped. Out of morbid curiosity, I searched for Kieran and Ethan Ashford next. $180 million. I quickly deleted my search history, pocketing my phone like it had burned me. Sidey'd know all this. If you actually read their interview, asterisk Rose scolded, Caleb just winked at you. Briar whispered, clutching my arm. What the actual fuck? What aren't you telling me? And don't lie. Crap. Maybe it was time to tell someone. If I couldn't trust Briar, who could I trust? She knew me better than anyone, sometimes a little too well. Over the next hour, between whistles, grunts, and stolen glances from the field, I spilled everything. Briar listened with that trademark devilish smirk, her expression equal parts amused and intrigued. I can't say I've had the pleasure, she admitted, a teasing edge to her tone. The Ashford boys might have a reputation, but they're selective. Not that I've tried too hard. Why chase the unattainable when you can have something great with half the effort? She nudged me with her elbow, her words lingering in the air, like an unspoken dare. I nodded, agreeing silently. I didn't have to chase anyone. With Briar, it had been effortless. A single look shared during a boring art history lecture, where we practically undressed each other with our eyes. There was a pause. The kind that stretched just long enough to make me wonder what she was thinking. Then Briar spoke. Wait, so you've known since Friday they're the ones. And you Shoehaven had sexy time yet? The disbelief in her voice was almost comical. 1,000,000 women would kill to be in my position, literally kill. If given the chance by the goddess, most of them would have stripped naked on the spot and offered themselves up on a silver platter. But I wasn't one of them. I liked my life, my goals, and the stability I'd built. Change meant compromise. And compromising meant sacrificing everything I'd worked for. Are you seriously clinging to the idea that your life is still the same? Asterisk Rose, my ever-annoying inner voice, chimed in with a scoff. Newsflash, it is not. Everything about our world is different now, And if you don't let me stretch my legs soon, I'll show you just how different it is. I sighed, feeling the weight of her words. I can't give them the satisfaction, I muttered, more to myself than to Briar. Maybe the goddess knew exactly what she was doing, pairing me with two stubborn pains in the ass who are probably too much like me. The problem is everything about my world has to change, while they don't have to sacrifice a damn thing. They get to keep their dreams. What about mine? My hands twisted nervously in the fabric of my shirt as I spoke. The frustration bubbling under my skin felt like it might spill over at any moment. Briar reached over and placed her hand over mine. The warmth of the gesture made my throat tighten, and I had to blink back the threat of tears. Crying here in the middle of a football field wasn't an option. Too many eyes. Reporter loses more than her football virginity on the field. Asterisks, I muttered, trying to distract myself. Next up, Duff the singing hamster. I watched one of the players slap Caleb on the ass, and my stomach twisted. There was no denying it. Anyon here would fall at his feet if he so much as crooked a finger. People like that commanded power with ease, and I didn't want any part of it. I wasn't the type to wield power over others, and I damn sure wasn't about to let anyone hold it over me. Briar leaned in conspiratorially. Hun, come on. You are only hurting yourself here. You are amazing in bed. I know that firsthand. I am sure they're just as good. Why not have some fun, explore a little? Rose perked up at that, her tail flicking excitedly in my mind. I like her idea. Asterisk, she purred. Traitor. I shot back, gritting my teeth as I fought to keep Rose from turning my head toward the twins. If I let myself become some trophy for the Ashford twins, I'll puke, I said firmly, my tone sharper than I intended. It is a dignity thing. I am not just some hot body with female parts. I am Lilith fucking Emery, a force to be reckoned with, a brilliant mind. I am not a pushover. And I sure as hell won't be some obedient mate who spends her days cleaning and has dinner on the table by 6. I am Sudnot, my mother. The words hung in the air, raw and unfiltered. Briar studied me for a moment, her expression unreadable. Then she leaned back, resting her head in her hand as she stared out at the field. I stayed silent, hoping she'd understand where I was coming from. If anyone could, it was her. Did you know I am one of 8 kids? She said suddenly, her voice softer than usual. 8 fucking kids. I used to think my mom was insane. But one day she told me how much joy each of us brought into her life, how she never regretted a single one of us. I always saw her as a victim. Though pregnant at 18. Raising a kid that wasn't even my dad's, my oldest sister. Not my dad's, she is the daughter of my mom's true mate. Briar paused, her gaze distant as she spoke, but my dad never treated her differently. He loves her just the same. I see it in the way he looks at her. Her words hit me harder than I expected. I guess my point is, she continued, families are complicated. What you want today might not be what you want tomorrow. My mom wanted to be a teacher, and you know what? She made it happen. She started a school at our pack. She found a way to have the best of both worlds. Briar leaned closer. Her eyes locked on mine. Look, I am not saying you should roll over and bare your neck to them. Hell no. But maybe, just maybe, you don't know where they're coming from either. My advice: date them. Separately and together. Get to know them with an open mind. But if you want to fuck with them, I'll help. Her mischievous grin was contagious, and I couldn't help but laugh. Date them, huh? I mused, leaning back and resting my elbows on the bleachers behind me. Oh, I like that idea. Rose cooed. I want to be spoiled, asterisk. Her idea of being spoiled and mine were leagues apart. Though raw meat wasn't exactly my idea of luxury, but Briar had a point. Dating them might give me the chance to see what they valued, what they thought it would take to impress me. You might be onto something, Miss Briar, I admitted, a small smirk tugging at my lips. She grinned wickedly, leaning closer. I'd rather be sidey on something. Or under someone. Do you know number 27? She asked, licking her lips as her eyes followed one of the players.